Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast, energized by KLMO Game Boy US, with your hosts, Jason Rambo and Sean Alley. Coming in hot with the 411 on all things sporting clays. Your go-to source for information, education, and entertainment, from the new shooter to the seasoned competitor.
Oh, I'm a junkie, man. I want to play with the buttons.
He just likes to throw people under the bus. You're not used to that yet. That's part of the show.
Does your brain hear what your mouth is saying?
Hey, I'm going to call Dave when the podcast is over and ask him what half the words are.
Let's rapid fire. Let's do the hot seat. Let's get her done.
Often imitated, but never duplicated. And now, it's showtime!
Yeah, Mr. Alley, back for another week of exciting information and entertainment.
It is showtime.
It is showtime. And we came in hot. Did you hear him?
Did we get in here hot?
That's what he just said.
Okay.
So we were coming in hot.
Okay.
You look like you just watched the new Top Gun movie. You had like little fire streaks coming out of your feet and stuff.
Okay. I didn't. Whatever you had, I'll take some of that.
Oh, yeah. All right. So anyway, fresh off the Ohio State Championship.
Yeah, man, what a freaking event, man. That was another record-breaking turnout, 500 plus. I think they originally had like about 560, and then there was a bunch of cancellations, some COVID stuff that hit the Northbrook, North Central there, and had a lot of cancellations last minute. But I still think I want to say it was like 516 or 520 something.
Yeah, it was over 500.
So big push from last year, which I think 450 something was last year, and that was
a little under.
Or
was
was
it?
it
450? Yeah.
Okay, and that was a record-breaking year too.
Yes.
So with the event, year after year, we've been growing that thing, and it's great to see so many people and so many big names come out.
And that's just what I was going to say is because of that size, you got people trying for Team USA points. So you had Wendell Cherry showed up.
Yep.
Bill McGuire.
Yep.
Eric Harvey, Chad Roberts.
Yep.
I don't want to leave anybody out. I mean, I go right down the list. Roger Becker. High overall went to Travis.
Travis McLeod.
And then second was Blaze Whitehead.
Blaze Whitehead was second place.
And then Dustin Maroon was our resident champion.
M1 was Bill McGuire. M2 was Dustin Maroon. M3 was Andrew Wysocki. M4 Christian Seibert, another Ohio local.
Yeah.
And M5 was Chad Roberts. So, and then right behind them was Wendell Cherry, Roger Becker, Eric Harvey, some of the other guys. So, I mean, again, a bunch of big names that came out to the Ohio State shoot. Thank you guys for coming, and it was great seeing everybody out there.
Yeah, for sure. And then once again, John Kruger set awesome targets.
They were, man. They were just great freaking targets. I mean, nothing was over the top, but my gosh, it was easy to miss some of them.
Well, you want to talk about frustration. Everything that I missed was inside of 25 yards. Now, how pathetic is that, right? But it's the fact that he threw a slow transitional target, threw you off your game. I guarantee everybody that missed those same targets was out in front like I was. Yep. We're used to these big targets we see, and here he killed us with something that was slow, transitional, inside of 30, 35 yards for most of them, and
which is what he's known for.
Yeah,
and that's where the magic lies for John. And I mean, that's great, man. I mean, it's just really refreshing to see stuff like that instead of the usual fast, far, edgy stuff that we see at some of the bigger shoots.
So, want to throw a big hats off to Sean Spindle and all the crew up there at Hillendale.
Yeah, they did
event was phenomenal.
Fantastic job. I mean, with that many people and that much stuff happening, I think the only backup that we saw was during the Super Sporting on Sunday, which definitely was probably going to be addressed next year a little bit differently. But overall, though, man, I mean, seriously, we shot the main, shot VTask, shot the prelim, and then we did shoot the Super Sporting. But other than the Super Sporting, everything else ran like a Swiss watch, in my opinion.
Well, and you bring that up, and here we go. I'm on the board now. I'm a director for the OSCA, Ohio Sporting Clays Association, and that's one of the things that was majorly addressed. The two hang-ups were the trophy presentations and the Super Sporting, and we're already addressing that for next year. I mean, literally, so we wrapped up on Sunday. Monday morning, the emails already started, and this is for next year's preparation.
Right.
So, yes, we are addressing that, and that was something I was going to bring up, is seeing it from the inside. Being on the board, being there for the shoot-offs, trophy presentations, giveaways, raffles, all that kind of stuff, and seeing the inner workings, man, it is a lot of work.
Yeah,
it really is. And hats off to the rest of the OSCA board, which, by the way, congratulations to Christina Laudenslager, who is now our new OSCA president.
Yep.
Yeah, moving forward, we're already prepping for next year. Cardinal Center was awarded the Ohio State Championship for 2023 and 2024. So looking forward to that. I know Jake and his staff will do a great job for us. Already talking about some really cool target setters for that event. And we're trying to hit that magic 600 number, believe it or not. Yeah. I mean, that's huge.
Well, and you know what was most impressive, Jason, was the number of people that came in out of town and told us that, they came because of us.
Can I tell the story?
Yeah, you can go ahead. I've got a couple more, but you can go ahead and tell that one because that one was very cool.
So during the main event on Saturday, you're going to die laughing when I tell you this. And I have Chad Roberts to back me up because he was squatted with me. I started off pretty decent. And then all of a sudden the wheels came off. And I mean, I Dutched probably one of the easiest pairs on the course. And my anger and my frustration got the best of me, and it carried through for 3 stations. Then I ran 7 stations in a row. And I still ended on an 83. Does that tell you how bad those 3 stations were? So anyway, but
it happens.
I was just coming off of the bad run. I had just swept, I think, 1 or 2 stations, and I'm starting to try and collect my thoughts and get my head in the right space. And this guy walks up to me. I've never seen this man before. And he walked right up to me, and I was sitting in my buggy, and he looked at me. He said, "Hey, would you do me a favor?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Would you smile for me?" And I looked at him kind of funny, and I said, "Beg your pardon?" He said, "Would you smile for me?" I said, "I'm trying to, sir." And he says, "I'm here from Canada because of you."
Yep.
And I said, "What?" And just about that time, I felt a tap on my arm, and it was Chad. And he said, "See?" And I looked back at this man. I said, I'm sorry." And come to find out, him and 4 of his buddies came down from Canada with their wives to shoot that tournament because of the Dead Pair podcast. And I was automatically humbled. I was put in my place, and it made me realize that my score doesn't matter. We're there to have a good time. We've convinced other people to come up. And then the man that was on your squad, Mitch, came up from Houston, Texas. I mean, what a drive. I mean, that's 24 hours at least.
Yep.
And he was here because of the podcast, and I just don't. I don't even know. I don't even know how to react to that. I mean, we're couple of idiots from Ohio, blue collar guys. So,
yeah, it's very humbling, and had a great time with Mitch. He was able to jump on my squad for the main because we had a last minute cancellation, and it was great to meet him. He was originally from Findlay, Ohio, moved down to Austin, I think he said 10 or 15 years ago. And, this was one of his first, he's been shooting for a year and a half, C-class. And I think he said this was one of the biggest shoots one of the big shoots he'd planned on going out of town and traveling for, and all because of listening to our podcast. And
that's humbling.
It is, man. I mean, it cracks me up. And I can't, and again, all through the weekend, I mean, I probably met dozens of people that said similar stories like, we listened to you guys and we wanted to come to this shoot because you guys talked it up so much, and everybody just really enjoyed, Hillendale. What a beautiful, course, and what a beautiful place. And I think everything went pretty well. And we dodged a huge bullet with the weather. Yeah, because they were calling for storms all weekend long, and somehow we got out of that. So
I think a couple of times we got wet, just very lightly.
It was hot. Don't get me wrong. It was hot and muggy.
For some humidity.
Yeah, hot and muggy, and you definitely want to be drinking plenty of fluids while you're out there. But at least we dodged the big storms.
So, but pretty cool. We were able to give away. We gave away 2 A400s, Browning Satori, an Atlas trap.
Yeah,
how cool is that?
Yeah, I know the guy that donated that.
Do you?
I do.
Is he a cool dude? I heard he's cool.
Judgment's out on that, but we'll take a vote, man, and we'll see how people turn it.
Oh, man. I think the funniest story of the whole weekend, and I'm sorry, Sean, I got to bust your chops on this one. This one was hilarious.
Go for it.
This guy came up to me, and he's a large mammal friend like yourself.
Oh, I know where you're going. All right, go ahead.
He says, he goes, I keep getting called large and in charge, and I started dying laughing, and he was wearing a Dead Pair shirt.
Yep.
And I knew right away where he was going with this. People mistaked him for you.
Yep.
he goes, so I went over to Sean and asked him to sign my shirt. He said he would devalue it with his signature.
I said, man, I would, but it'd probably devalue the shirt if I actually put my name on it. He just started dying laughing.
Oh, man, that was hilarious. That was right in the middle of Super Sporting, man. I started dying laughing.
Yep. But that's what we're there for, man. We're there to have a good time and cut up with people, and we want to meet everybody. I mean, obviously, don't approach us when we're in the box shooting, but any other time outside of that, man, come up to us and talk to us. We would love to hear from anybody for any particular reason, and always humble to meet a fan or a listener of the show.
But to wrap up the Ohio State shoot, again, congratulations to Hill and Dale and Sean Spindell and his staff. They did a absolutely phenomenal job with that shoot.
Yes, it was.
Great food, great targets.
Yep.
Trappers were good all the way around. No holdups. We had a little hiccup, I guess you could call it, with the Super Sporting. But other than that, what a phenomenal event. And I look forward to next year because Cardinal Center is already talking bigger and better things. So let's see if we can make it happen.
Yep.
In the meantime, Sean Alley, we have Stephen Lamboy of Sea Island Cases Negrini.
Yep.
Coming on with us, and I think he's waiting on me to call, so we need to get going.
Do it. All right, joining us on the phone back again, Stephen Lamboy from Negrini. Stephen, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. We're here in Arkansas, and we've hit this balmy 100-degree temperature.
Balmy. I have a different word to describe 100 degrees.
Right. It's kind of equatorial this time of the year, but what are you going to do?
Right. So, Stephen, how was the recent family trip?
It was fabulous. Fabulous. We went up to Glacier National Park. It was our second time inside the park. We did a lot more from the eastern side of the park, which was closed during the COVID years. And the reservation, of course, closed it, wisely so. And it's just, the vistas are just so spectacular that it's impossible not to just have a wonderful time, if not a spiritual time.
Yeah.
We did quite a few hikes. One was 12 miles back into Avalanche Lake. And my sons were able to fly fish the outlet all the way down to the original trailhead, and they had a blast catching these cutthroat trout. So it was all good.
Very cool. Well, Stephen, we had you on a year ago. We covered a lot of the bases, but I want to kind of circle back for those that maybe have missed that podcast and kind of get them caught up to speed. So you own Sea Island Cases, which is the national distributor for Negrini. Is that correct?
Yeah, international case companies. So we're partnered with Negrini of Italy, and we cover all of North America. And as far as online sales go, we ship pretty much all over the world. So we have two companies within one. We have the Negrini case side of it, and then we have the Sea Run case side of the business, which we started 2 years ago, which are fly fishing cases. And that's been a wonderful story as well. So,
and those things are really cool too. I mean, I don't fly fish, but I wanted to get one just because I think they're cool.
Yeah. Well, we kind of hit a nerve with it. That was born out of a necessity when one of my sons left his new Orvis equipment, on the stream side, and by the time we got back, it was gone. So I decided to take one of our cases and turn it into a family case. And anyway, that was 2 years ago, and now it's a very successful part of our business.
Gotcha. Well, I can tell you right now, I love your Negrini case. Ever since I got it last year, I've been using it like more and more frequently, more than I thought I ever would. Because originally I just kind of relegated it for traveling through the airlines. But I tell you what, it's just so handy to pack everything up, and you throw it in the truck. You don't worry about getting any damage to your gun. I usually would carry my gun assembled in a soft bag, like a soft side case. And I had a kind of a ding happen, and I'm like, I need to really kind of protect this a little bit better. So now my usual standard protocol is to take it down, put it in the case, lock it up, and then when I put it in the back of the truck or wherever, it just protects it, and I know everything's in there. I got enough room for a cleaning kit. I've got some extra wipes. I've got my grease. I've got choke tubes. I mean, everything that I need is in that case, and man, it's just such a nice, small, portable case. They're just so slick. Anybody that doesn't have one, you really need to look into them.
Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, we've spent a lot of time on the design and on the durability and strength of those cases, and the flexibility to be able to handle everything that sporting clay shooters need. We actually have one case now, which is, we call it gun luggage, but it holds one gun on one side of the case and quite a few accessories. Then the other side of the case is wide open for everything from shooting bags, clothing, eyewear, cigar case, anything you want to put in there, cleaning equipment, everything but a small child you can pretty much fit in there.
Well, I can tell you for one thing, I mean, the case I had before I got the Negrini was one of those big, like, roll-around box cases, and you don't really think too much about it. You're like, well, I got to have something big and bulky to protect the gun. But, man, that thing's just a bear, wheeling it through the airport, fighting amongst the lines and the people and everything, and then you got to pack that thing around. It weighs a ton. And when you switch off to a Negrini case, you're like, why did I ever in a million years try to lug that big monster around when I could have just had this thing? And it carries around like almost like an oversized lunchbox. It's just that easy. So
yeah, well, that's how I got into this thing, really, is, I was on an Argentina trip and I had one of those really big, heavy cases and with two guns in it. Mm-hmm. And the case was so darn heavy. I forgot who made it. Now it might have been, I think it was marketed under Browning at the time. But anyway, when they were unloading the plane, they threw this thing down on the runway and broke a huge piece of the corner off.
Oh, geez.
And it was held on by this rubber gasket. And so not only was it super heavy, but it still broke. And, I had to use half a roll of duct tape to get it home. And so anyway, after that, that's when I picked up the first Negrini case, and it was just such a game changer to have something that tough and that light.
Yeah.
So we haven't looked back.
Well, to take it a step further, you guys got me one of the travel covers for my case.
Yeah.
And man, is it nice. Got that leather strap and everything else, and it just makes it so much more convenient to carry. But Scott in your office was telling me that you guys are going to get a new supplier for that.
Yes. It's actually a domestic supplier that is fairly local, which is really good.
Oh, cool.
And they do a really, really good job, because the company that was doing it prior, and this is a problem in the industry, we're all kind of aging out a little bit, and he just decided, I'm just going to shut down, and, it's too hard to hire people now, and COVID and everything. I'm going to close it and retire. And so he's given us all the patterns and everything. But fortunately, we have been able to find another really good source, because we don't want to give up that extra heavy material,
right.
Which is, there's people that just don't want belt burn, from an airline's, on their case. So having that super heavy cover is important to a lot of folks. So anyway, we are going with that. And we have a lot of other things that we're working on too. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but Beretta and Benelli have decided to no longer give a case with their guns. They're going to be shipped in a box for whatever reason, which we really don't know. So, we are now, what the big news is that, hey, we are the maker of the OEM cases for Beretta and Benelli for their autoloaders. This is only for autoloaders. So we will have these cases, and we have plenty of them in stock, and we're trying to get the word out to everybody that, hey, okay, don't worry if it didn't come in a case. We have the case. It's not a problem. Just give us a call, and we can sort you out. The other thing that we're doing there is, there's a lot of people that shoot sporting clays, and they're also duck hunters and bird hunters. And a lot of these guys, just like you, will take their basic gun, and they don't want to take it down. They don't want to take down their autoloader. So they use a soft case. Mm-hmm. And there's some fantastic soft cases out there too, some that float and everything else. But we are developing, and we won't have it out till spring, but we're developing a really cool one-piece case for autoloaders, okay? And it has a trapdoor in the front, a trapdoor in the rear. It has an internal sock, and you can fit their full-length autoloader in that case. There'll be two sizes, one for, the extra long barrels and one for shorter barrels.
Gotcha.
And but that's a new development that's in the works. Another new development is a new carbon fiber series.
Oh,
and
sweet.
They're made out of a carbon fiber composite sheeting instead of the ABS sheeting, which is a multi-layer too. But so here's the story on that. Negrini was approached by a luggage maker, okay, who will go unnamed, okay, but a major maker of very expensive luggage, to work with a composite company to try to find a way to thermoform this sheet to use for luggage. And as a result of doing part of this contract was that we're able to use the technology in the sheet for gun cases. Now, it's not inexpensive, but it is just to die for when you see it.
Oh, really?
It's just awesome.
Was there some weight savings there with going with the carbon fiber as well?
Yeah, there is some weight savings. It's not as huge as you might think. So I would have to say that this is one part performance and one part just so darn cool I have to have it.
Yeah.
I have to say that. I mean, I can't, that's really what it is. And, but man, they're just so gorgeous. Anyway, they're much more expensive than the other cases, and we can't make a lot of them. It's a very limited production because just like the APS, they're all made by hand, and the availability of this material and the amount of time it takes to thermoform it, okay, is quite long. It's really quite long. So
I know this is going to make my wife's eyes roll, but go ahead and put my name on the list. I got to have one.
All right, you're officially on the list. You're officially on the list.
Hey, I want to circle back to something you said there, Stephen. The cases that came with the guns, the factory Negrini cases that came with the guns, like for my example, myself, I bought a new Kohler a couple years ago, and it came with a Negrini case. Is that something that you provided, or did that come straight from Negrini, Italy?
No, we provide them to Kohler.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and we provide, we develop the cases for Kohler, and we provide for Krieghoff, we provide some of their cases direct from the U.S. here. And, when you're thinking about OEM cases, cases used by the manufacturers, so it could be anybody from, Remington to Browning to whoever. Now, quite often these manufacturers, the ones that are not selling the really premium guns, will say, okay, they'll tell Negrini, we only have so much money we want to put on a case, so give us what you can give us for that. And that might not always be the thickest or the strongest or whatever case, but it's certainly serviceable and adequate and so forth. But when it comes to Krieghoff and companies like Perazzi and Blaser and Kohler, I mean, they're getting the best. They really are getting the best.
Gotcha.
And, yeah.
I know when I got my new Krieghoff, Scott told me, he's like, man, put that case in the closet. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, don't scratch that up. That's your new case that came with your new gun. I'll get you a case. I'm like, okay. And he was, and even at that, even though it was still one of Negrini's higher end cases, the case that Scott sent me, you can tell the difference in the case. It was definitely a travel case for a high end shotgun. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we inspect every single case that goes out. They're all made to our specifications using the heaviest materials that we can possibly buy, and they're all made one by one, no matter, people may not believe that, but I mean, there's no automatic sheet fed thermoformers there. They're all hand fed. Then they go into a router that trims them out, and they're all hand assembled, hand upholstered, and all of that. It's just the way it is. There's just not an easier way to build it that light and that strong. So now we have a new series of cases for sporting clays and for bird hunters, for upland hunters, and that's our new Blaze Orange Canvas series. Mm-hmm. So I really love these cases because they look just like the classic hunting jacket that you would use for hunting pheasants or doves or whatever. It's khaki and blaze, whether it's your vest or your jacket. And that has been a super big success and a little bit of a runaway. And for example, Cole Gunsmithing and Kevin's, I mean, they jumped on the bandwagon really early, and we were afraid that they were going to buy the whole inventory first. But so they have they've taken advantage of that, and that's been really good too, because there's a big crossover. You'd be surprised right now what the crossover is between sporting clay shooters, upland hunters, and fly fishermen.
Seems like everybody's got the same expensive hobbies, huh?
Yeah, and getting more expensive, unfortunately. So,
yeah, I think.
But we really appreciate working with our dealers. They've been really thoughtful this year, with all the supply chain things, and Elena, Dr. Elena, my wife, has done a just incredible job of being able to, outwit the container system to be able to keep us supplied. So it's been a busy year and a tough year, but we've had some very good growth, and we're extremely grateful.
Good
for everyone.
Well, I know that I believe Scott sent us an email with a sneak peek on the new orange cases and stuff for the upland hunters. Those are really cool. Obviously, you are never going to misplace that thing, because big and bright orange like it is, you'll never sit it down somewhere and then not notice it sitting there. That's for sure. Circling back on the carbon fiber, do you guys have pictures of those on your website up yet, or can people go and look and see what those look like?
I've just seen the first ad, and I just got back from vacation. I don't know if it's on the website yet, but okay. I will make sure probably in the next week it'll be up and running on there.
Oh, good deal.
It's just, it's limited availability because of the time it takes to build them. But if you want something that's just so cool,
yeah, I
don't know. I just love cases, Well, I love cases like women like purses, I guess. I don't know, but
it's an accessory.
It's an accessory. It's good.
Well,
it's really good.
It's protecting your gun. And like I said, I've got one of the smaller Negrini cases, but even though it's the smaller version, like I said, I've got enough room in it to carry my little cleaning kit, my compact cleaning kit. I've got a tube of grease in there. I've got some oil wipes. I've got a rag. I've got a bear pelt gun sleeve that I roll up and stick in the corner. I mean, it's not really big, and to look at it, you wouldn't think you'd be able to put that much stuff in there. But again, they're well made and easy to organize. And I tell you what, just carrying the daggone thing around just makes you feel like, wow, this isn't any trouble at all. And that's what I love about it. And I just keep using it more and more. So
I appreciate you saying. I love those bear pelt vests too. I think they make a fine product.
Yeah,
they really do make a fine product.
Very, very comfortable. Very comfortable. But yeah. Overall, I mean, like I said, we love your cases, and we appreciate you guys helping us out and being a part of the show. And, we've tried to spread the word far and wide to everybody, and it really doesn't need a lot of explanation. People know that when they're talking about a high-end case, Negrini is usually the first name that pops into their mind, so it's not something that they're not aware of. It's just, hey, is it the time to pull the trigger, so to speak?
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I appreciate it. So yeah, we've really fought hard this year too. Like, the supply chain has been just surprisingly difficult, and like I have to give great credit to Elena and managing that part of it. She's done a tremendous job. But so now one of the things we're thinking about is, as we go and grow, what can we do to give back? And by that, I mean, we're looking for a means, and we're going to have some initial conversations this fall with some other parties about how to get involved with funding youth shooting. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about all clay shooting. And, I love what the NSSF has done with Scholastic Clay Target Program. I mean, they get great and should have great kudos for starting that. I was on the board when we did start it, but I mean, for funding it for year after year after year, getting it up and going, that's been a model for many other state programs. So, in trap, skeet, and sporting, we're looking for a way that we can participate in the youth side of that to ensure that we continue this beautiful way of life and sporting competition. And Larry Potterfield, I mean, look what he's done with his Youth Shooting Foundation. Mm-hmm. It's spectacular.
Yep.
So we're going to be reaching out to others that have similar minds to see if we can come up with a way that this could be done. And, one of the things that I participated in years ago and kind of spearheaded when I was running Realtree Outdoor Products was a program with Ducks Unlimited. And we did a program with them that instead of every year, having these organizations come and put their hand out, doing the classic begging because they need funding, we created a program where we bought a license with them to be the, official camo for 3 years, right?
Really?
For DU. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And we paid them per yard of fabric sold. And we had all of our licensees come in and join that effort and buy a license, right? And it was based on a 3-year deal, and then it was put out to bid. Okay, for the next, it could have been tree bark at the time, it could have been mossy oak. Mossy oak has it now. Mm-hmm. But what a wonderful way for the industry to fund conservation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm looking to do something like this with partners for clay target shooting. And I think it needs to be done, at the youth level. For a lot of parents, I don't care if it's trap, skeet, or sporting, it's a big cost of entry.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It's a big cost of entry, right? And then, you don't let your 15-year-old go to the Scholastic Clay Target Nationals without mom and dad being there.
Oh, right.
Right? Yeah. I mean, so it's a huge commitment, but these programs have been very successful. I mean, don't forget what the situation was before. Yeah. It was on decline. Okay. It was declining. And even sporting clays was stagnant. Okay.
Yep.
The youth shooting programs that are done by everyone from 4-H to the individual state youth programs to SCTP to the intercollegiate programs, these are really important programs.
Yeah. I mean, because I think more than anything, you have to keep reinforcing that this is a good thing, that this is a positive thing. It teaches responsibility. Jason and I have said it dozens and dozens of times. I mean, especially since the SCTP Nationals are basically in our backyard at the Cardinal Center every year.
Yes.
And we see all those kids, and, we've met hundreds of them, and they're all just some of the greatest kids in the world. I mean, they're very polite. They're very responsible. Mom and dad raising them right. And, it's really refreshing to see that in this day and age. And it's really nice to see that go hand in hand with firearms, because it just seems like we always get a black eye from the media and everything. Every time you look in the news, there's something negative going on with firearms. And what a nice, refreshing thing to be able to go over there and say, hey, all this is good. Everybody's happy. Everybody's having a good time. It's a good family experience. So yeah, we're definitely 100% behind anything in regards to that.
Yeah, and we've had several talks about that missing age group, from 21 to 29, because they go off to college, they quit shooting, but they always come back, right? And my thing is if we don't focus on the youth and get them introduced and get them into shooting, they don't have anything to come back to because they don't know any better.
Right.
So it's very important for the long term of our sport. I really think it is. I mean, the kids that are now in high school, sure, we're going to lose them here in the next few years, but in the next 10 years, they're going to come back to the game. Some of them won't. Some of them that financially are able to stick with us, they'll stick with us. But I think it's important, I think these kids need to learn about the shooting sports and the safety of firearms and, all the above. And then when they have the opportunity to come back, they know it's a great sport to come back to.
Absolutely. And, and there's been, people that have really stepped up. The Potterfields have stepped up just unbelievably so. But there's people in the background people just don't know about. I mean, Joe Crofton, and who's from Texas, and actually from Tennessee and Texas, and his dad, his family, I mean, they built the entire Boy Scout shooting center where they have the World Jamborees. They built it.
Wow, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, it's called the Crofton Center, but, they're not out. They're doing great things, and they're not out seeking publicity for it. But that was a huge expense. It was an enormous expense. And, there wouldn't be the facility at Nationals think about it. There wouldn't even be the facility at Nationals if it wasn't for Hal DuPont and Beretta and others.
Yeah.
Who
Absolutely.
stepped up. They stepped up, and provided that facility, which is, I would consider it, the premier sporting facility for competition in the world.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
Speaking of Nationals, you let a little cat out of the bag earlier. You guys are going to be down at Nationals this year.
We sure are going to be there. Now, we're there every year, but I'm going to be there this year, so it's my turn. And I haven't been there in a while, and I want to see all of my friends, shoot a few rounds and have some fun. So we're going to be there. Our primary work there is not to open up a store, okay? Real estate there is extremely valuable, and it's for dealers and others who are selling right there and showing their products and servicing.
Right.
So, we have several dealers there, Cole Gunsmithing and Pacific Sporting Arms and others who are there. And our goal is to go there and support them and use their venues to, show the new products and get feedback from consumers and, give thanks for the business people have given us. That's really the purpose of us being there. So, and we sponsor. I can't even tell you right now which event it is that we sponsor because I forgot. I just know that I approved it for this year, and I think we've expanded our sponsorship there at the facility this year. So
that is very cool. Well, Steven, I got another question here for you. Product development. Do you guys work hand in hand with that, or is that something that's all done in Italy? I guess part of the reason for my asking this is if somebody had an idea for a case, be it something specific for sporting or hunting or fishing, is this something you guys can help with? I mean, if somebody wants to get a hold of you and they got a cool idea for a case, is this something you guys can work with? Okay.
Absolutely. That's something we do every day. Yeah, that's something we do every single day.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah. We even have, there's a very sophisticated computer program that is used. We can photograph different materials and products that need to be encapsulated in a case. And that can be used in Italy to make a prototype at scale. Okay.
Very cool.
Perfectly scaled. Yeah. So, we have very low cost prototyping, So if we use an existing outer case, the inner cases, the prototype can be made very, very inexpensively. And then the tooling for doing a custom case on the inside is not very expensive. And it can be amortized, or companies can pay for it up front, whichever they desire. And that's what we're all about. I mean, that is how Negrini has survived in this competitive industry for over 30 years. Okay. Mm-hmm. That has been, Ugo Gusali Beretta, contacting them, Friday at 4:00, saying we got to have a new case on Monday.
Wow.
No pressure.
Okay. Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah. It's like, yes, sir.
Guys, we're not going home this weekend.
Yeah. They're very dedicated to it. And that's what they make. I mean, 99.9% of what they make are gun cases. So, well, nice. Except for the new fishing cases now. But, that's what they make.
Well, let me know the next time you're heading back to Italy, because my mom's wanting to get back over there, so maybe we can make a cool trip of it. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we could even have the broadcast from the factory.
How cool would that be, right?
That would be very cool. Very cool.
That would be a lot of fun, yeah. And then we'll go and shoot some sporting, and we can also shoot Olympic trap.
Don't be teasing me now, Steven. Don't be teasing me.
Yeah. We can shoot Olympic trap, yeah. And there's some incredible places there, so.
Very cool.
So, Steven, I know you've hinted around that you guys are always innovating and you're always coming up with new ideas. Anything coming down the pipe that you can let our listeners in on?
Well, just the full-length autoloader case.
Yep, that's going to be cool.
And that'll be able to be attached to an ATV. It'll be able to attach to a duck boat or what have you, or thrown in the back of the pickup truck. It'll be a good, tough alternative, to ruining a stock with a big ding. Mm-hmm. When you think about what people are paying for custom stocks now,
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
So that's really the biggest thing that we're working on right now, besides trying to expand the capability of the carbon fiber and other new materials that we're using. So we're on the worldwide material hunt right now. That's what we're doing.
Sean can level with you on that one. He's having a hard enough time getting materials into print on. So
yeah. All the vinyl and all the plastics and stuff, I'm sure you're well aware of. It's just been hit and miss all year long. So
it has
been tough.
It has
been real tough.
It has. And over in Italy, on any given day, you could have, if you have 90 people in your workforce, you could easily have 15 or 20 out with COVID, and they cannot come back until they test negative.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the world we live in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The world we live in right now. Yeah, it's been extremely difficult. So, but we've managed, and we've had growth this year, and we appreciate everybody's patience too.
Gotcha. Well, Stephen, anything else that we're missing, or any other topics that we haven't touched on yet this evening that you want to get out to our listeners at all?
The only other thing I would like to say is, if anyone has any creative ideas on funding youth shooting, we're wide open to hear it.
Gotcha.
Because we need to do something. We want to do our part. And, so we're interested in piloting some kind of a program that would help fund through sales. Mm-hmm. That's what we want to do. As guys, it's not really that much of a new concept. I mean, it's kind of like Newman's Own, right? Salad dressing, but we want to start to promote that and encourage other companies to do it as well. And other companies are doing a lot too.
Yeah, I know the Coles are really big into youth shooting, and there's a lot of other organizations out there that really, Bear Pelt's another one that sponsors a lot of youth shooters. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Set an example, lead by example, and then show the world, that, hey, this is a great thing to contribute to.
Well, and, Stephen brought it up, is the Potterfields, and what they're doing with the Midway USA Foundation is amazing.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like Negrini is willing to jump on that bandwagon and help out. So if anybody listening has any ideas, contact you through negrini.com. Stephen, would that be the best way to go, or do you want to send them to us and we can send them to you? Or
either way, yeah.
Okay.
Bring them on. They can contact me through the website. They can contact me through you guys. I'm available, and we talk to people.
Awesome.
We don't send you a form.
Right.
A live voice on the other end of the line.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Stephen, it's been an honor, sir. We appreciate having you. And, Sean and I say it all the time, is it's not always just the product, but it's the people behind the product that sponsor the show. And we love working with you guys, and anything we can do to help, let us know. When those new cases come out, if you want to send us some info on them, we'll be more than happy to push them out on our end. And until then, man, we look forward to seeing you at Nationals for sure.
All right. Sounds great. I appreciate you guys so much and love what you do. And, I've been following you guys for a while, and I think it's a unique program, and what you do for the shooting sports, in terms of informing and getting people to come together is where we need to be. It's what we need to do. So
agreed 100%.
That's been our goal since day one, just to try to make this better for everybody and bring more people into it. So
yeah. Okay.
Good deal. Well, Stephen, thank you again for spending time with us. I know you're a very busy guy, so we'll let you go and get on to your evening. But until next time, we'll see you hopefully at the Nationals next.
Yes, sir.
That's right around the corner. See you soon, guys. Take care.
All right.
Sir.
See you, Stephen. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I don't know about you, Sean. I'm dying to get my hands on a carbon fiber case.
Yeah, you're the carbon fiber guy.
You think I'd look? You know what? I think I'd really make that case look good. Oh,
everybody's surprised that heard that, right?
Yeah, Sean was smiling until I said that, and his face just dropped. Like, oh, really?
Yeah.
But no, I'm just kidding. I think that's really cool, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're always coming out with great stuff, and I thought it was really neat that he said that they're able to do prototyping fairly inexpensively, especially if they've got a ready-made case and they can just change the interior compartments for whatever. And I really like to see that new auto case that they came out with for the A400s.
That's really cool.
With me and you picking up our new A400s, maybe we'll take a look and see if one of those would be.
Hey, big shout out to Willie Shooting.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Sean and I have acquired some of the new A400s.
Yep.
Custom ported by Rhino Chokes.
That's right.
And choked by Rhino Chokes. Thank you very much.
Yep.
To the folks at Rhino. But we got us some rain guns now.
That's right. Yep. Anytime it's dumping down rain, we're going to pull out the A400s and put the big expensive over-unders away.
I tell you, the one thing I am going to do, though, one more thing I am going to do that gun, I have heard do not even think about using that gun without a Cole Pro trigger. So I'm going to get a hold of Rich Cole, see if he can hook me up with one of his Cole Pro triggers.
You know, I actually shot mine a little bit. I haven't really had much time with it, but I didn't think the trigger was that bad.
It's not. It's a little heavy for me. I think it's like a 5 1/4 pound pull from the factory. But I heard Rich's are like a nice crisp 3 pound.
Well, I mean, come on. Rich is the Beretta guy. I mean,
Rich is the Beretta God.
He is, yeah.
He's not the Beretta guy. He's the Beretta God.
Yeah, I'm just saying that man knows his Berettas.
Yes, he does. Hey, listen, we got a questions for the coaches segment to get to with Don Grant, and we have a special announcement with Don. So let's get Don on the phone.
All right, with us is the lovely Don Grant. Donner, how are you doing this evening?
Fantastic.
All right, so we've got some big news, Don. You are joining the Dead Pair team, and we couldn't be happier to have you with us. So
very excited about this.
Thank you for joining and supporting the Dead Pair podcast.
Wouldn't have it any other way. You guys are amazing.
All right, well, we feel the same thing about you because obviously with all of our mental nuances and weird things, we need all the help we can get.
I'm going to have this young lady on speed dial.
Don't you already?
I thought you did. I know.
Yeah, right, Don. I mean, didn't he already have you on speed dial?
I know. Right?
Anybody that knows me, this is not breaking news.
No. But no, we couldn't be happier. Yeah, we couldn't be happier, and obviously Jason will be calling you even more now than he ever did in the past.
Yes.
Lucky you, Don. Lucky you.
Sorry in advance.
I'll take them off you.
Well, Don, we've got some questions for the coaches we want to do with you. We've got some really good questions here. If you're ready, I'll throw these at you.
Always.
Okay.
Go for it.
So Dean wrote in and he said, in every single competition I've been in, let me back up, a little backstory here. This is a fairly new registered target shooter, okay? The guy just got into registered targets. I think he said earlier in this email he's about 1,500 targets deep. Okay. So his question is, he says, in every single competition I've been in, I have an issue with my nerves on the first 1 to 3 stations, and these cause a lot of misses to happen. He says here, I tend to always seem like I am fully focused and ready to perform and feel perfectly normal. Then the wheels fall off, if you will. I'm paraphrasing here. Then he gets into a rhythm. His nerves completely shut off, and he can get back into a groove, and then he finishes well. So his question is, how do I reduce internal mental noise that comes from your adrenaline, excitement, etc. at the start of a shoot?
Nice. So, stage fright, right? That's what's happening there. And it's not mental chatter that comes from adrenaline. It's actually quite the opposite, the exact opposite.
Really?
It's the thoughts that are causing the reaction in the body, the chemical reaction in the body. So the thoughts come first and they're triggering a reaction in the body. So I'll give you an example that's different but the same. Let's say you're in a city, it's late at night, you're walking down an alley and your heart's racing, your adrenaline's going, you're like freaking out because you're in this dark alley, right? That's your thoughts doing that. Your thoughts are like, did I just hear something? Is somebody behind that dumpster? Am I going to get murdered? And, so if there was an ability for someone to like flip on the lights and you could see that there's no mass killers around you and you're totally fine, the chemical reaction in your body would go away. So it's your thoughts responding to your environment that then are affecting the body. And so what you do is you change your thoughts. So let me give you another example. There are people that can have sleep issues, right? So let's say I start to have a little bit of a challenge going to sleep or going back to sleep in the middle of the night. Yeah, happens for one night, happens for 2 nights, have a few good nights. Then I start having sleep problems again next week. Well, then I have a really important meeting, really important something. And I think, oh, God, please don't let me have sleep problems tonight because I got to get up early in the morning and I have this really important meeting and I got to close the deal or else I'm probably going to get fired. Those thoughts then contribute to a reaction in the body that is like stress, anxiety, heart rate going up, all these different things, which are quite the opposite of sleep. And the thoughts are putting you in beta, which is the opposite of what's delta, which is sleep. And that's what then keeps the person awake. So then what happens is it's like the self-fulfilling prophecy thing. But then the next day, they're like, I hope that doesn't happen again. I hope I'm able to sleep tonight. But they start fretting about it at like 5 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. You know? Right. And then they start believing that they're going to have a problem. So, those are just similar scenarios to what's going on with this person. Now he's caught up in a pattern where he actually expects that it's going to happen. He probably has anxiety around it happening. He's trying not to have it happen. He's worried about it happening. When it starts happening, he then starts to get frustrated, which then creates even more problems with his shooting. So, it'd be great for him to learn about his mind.
It's kind of that snowball effect.
Totally. He's caught up in it. Well, at least he recognizes it. Some people, there's a lot of people that just truly emphasize the mechanics and don't really look at the mental side. And he's definitely looking at the mental side and recognizing that that's what's going on here. And, there's a percentage of folks that talk to me that have anxiety issues related to the first several stations. There's some that do well at the beginning and then do poorly at the end, like the final station. So it's kind of personality related and experience related as far as, what they have experienced, what snowball they have going on. So there are natural techniques to quiet the mind, to stop the chatter, to stop the snowball, and to then, shift, and they're not going to have this anxiety or serotonin or whatever you want to call it in the body. And they'll then, learn some really natural ways of calming themselves down, being in the present moment, not worrying and fretting and having negative expectations, all that stuff. So that's honestly what I teach people how to do in my program. They can also, in my 20-minute hypnosis for transformation, is a download that a lot of folks use prior to competition or during competition to just kind of keep them even keeled. So that would be something else that he could do. But it's the thoughts that need to be understood and managed through that situation.
Gotcha. Any other follow-ups on that, Jay, or is that it?
No, I'm trust me, I'm making notes here because this is going to be another phone call to Don later.
Oh boy.
Listen, I can level with Dean here, okay? It happens to me all the time. It really does. I mean, I go in, I'm excited to shoot, and then all of a sudden I'm standing in the box waiting on my turn on the first station, and the heart rate's at about 180. So trust me, I can level with him.
Well, and because you are doing my online course, you'll get to the point where I talk about fight or flight. I also briefly talk about fight or flight in all of my free webinars. So there's that free webinar for clay shooters, and I teach a little bit about it. But as soon as you say your heart rate's going up and all of that, that's the fight or flight response, which is also called the stress response. Some of it's instinctual, but a lot of it in our society nowadays is not instinctual. It's what we've created. So your thoughts are causing your body to go into a fear response.
Right.
You're going to fight or you're going to flee. And so there are these physiological responses in your body that happen because of your thoughts to help you fight or flight. But you don't need either of those when you're shooting.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, there's this interesting thing that because of our cuckoo little conscious minds are all out of control, we put ourselves in fight or flight response like 85% of our lives, which is stress, what we call stress and anxiety, versus the only time you should be in fight or flight is for true survival purposes, which should only be like 7% of your life, right? Like when you really are being chased by the serial killer.
We hope it's not 7%, man. That's a pretty high number, I think. But whatever. All right. Well, if you're ready for another one, Dawn, I want to give you this one that's kind of lengthy, so I'm going to paraphrase some of this stuff. Steve writes in, I'm a very score-driven person. I know I really shouldn't be, but I tend to give up easily if I'm doing poorly, because he's, again, focused on the number. To paraphrase, he says, how can I fight the how can I fight the feeling that I need to give up and I don't care anymore, and refocus my energy?
Yeah. So a few things there. There's a lot of competitive athletes that will do everything they can to not know their score. It's really tricky when a sport is related to like 100, because if you missed one, you got 99, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
So this sport in particular makes it hard to not know your score. But knowing your score and avoiding it is, again, another common issue. When I worked with PGA Tour professionals, there was this one in particular. He was like, Dawn, I don't know how familiar you are with golf, but they have huge leaderboards, spread throughout the golf course. And he was like, I know where the leaderboards are. I will not look at them. He's like, I will look at the ground. I'll look everywhere else. I will avoid knowing my score. He's like, but I need your help, because when the camera crew comes, I know I'm in like the top 10 or the top 5. And he's like, and then I fall apart on camera instantly.
Oh, geez.
So, helping people with the concept of avoiding their score is something I've been dealing with for a long time. Ideally, when somebody's gone through my training, they know their score. And it's okay, right? Yeah. It's okay. And, they're there to have fun. They're there to have a good time. They know they're on a journey. They know how much they've improved. They know where they're still working on. They can appreciate things. They're in the moment. Like, there's all these great mindsets that's happening. For somebody who's trying to avoid their score and then having struggles when they do know their score, especially if it's lower than they would have liked, they need to, it's acceptance. The concept is acceptance. And to be able to be in a moment that is not necessarily going the way that their ego would like it to go. Like, I want a higher score. I should have a higher score. This shouldn't be happening to me. And so it's taming down the ego, taming down the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, recognizing that he's on a journey. What have I learned? What am I still learning? How far have I come? Let me have some gratitude that I'm even out here doing something that I love, that I have the money, that I have the time, I have the ability, that I have the functioning. And so it's knowing how to shift what you're thinking about and how you're perceiving things, and then doing it deliberately. And at first it can be tricky. You can learn their new habits, basically. And you just learn how to view situations differently and how to view your score differently. It's like moving on from a miss. Same idea. Some people, a miss can really cause them to fall apart. So much so that, there's experts out there that will say, pretend you broke it, act like it didn't happen.
Right.
And so, my training, I teach people to not fake it, not pretend it didn't happen. Like, you face it and you see what you're learning from it. And a lot of people, like, if they're being taught to avoid it or ignore it or pretend it didn't happen, they're missing a huge opportunity. So if we just look at a miss, you can reflect upon that. Let's say that in that moment you recognize that you called pull and you weren't really ready yet, or you're still questioning your plan. You can correct that before the next shot. You can correct it before the next station. But if you followed some of these other experts' suggestion to pretend it didn't happen or ignore it and just move on, you're going to miss that opportunity. So there is a way to learn how to see the good in situations.
Yeah.
And to take advantage of whatever situation is being presented to you and still be in a good place.
Yeah. Well, I imagine you could probably say it's similar to somebody that's trying to diet and they worked hard all week and then they get on the scale and they only lost like half a pound or something, right? I mean, it's the same type of concept where I just want to give up. You know, I mean, I know we all get to that point, and I'm sure me and Jason have been there a few times.
Yeah. But. Yes and no. I mean, I'd say in some ways it's similar, but it might sound crazy to someone who's not really in my program or whatever, but there's good in everything. Like, if you have a tendency to be uncomfortable when it's your turn to shoot, think more about what everybody else is thinking of you than be present with the target, like, there's room for improvement there. So if you can identify that that's happening, you can work on it. But if you ignore it and pretend it didn't happen, you're not going to improve in that area, and you're just going to keep having the same problem. So when you think of it related to diet and changing food habits or exercise habits, then it's the same concept. Like, let's say, like me, you didn't go grocery shopping and it's time to eat and you're trying to eat healthy, but there's nothing in the fridge, right? So the room for improvement rather than beating yourself up, the miss, is to go, how can I improve upon this? What can I do differently? What did I do well today related to my diet or changing my diet? And what can I change tomorrow? Or what can I do now? Like, nowadays you can order food through Shipt. Somebody delivers your groceries.
Yeah.
So,
well,
you can learn from these things.
Dawn, nothing that's great comes easy is one of the things I've learned. And what I mean by that is you don't get 6-pack abs by eating pizza, and you don't win a big tournament on natural talent. It takes a lot of hard work. And I think what some people need to realize is that mental training is part of your program, and you need to work on it. I mean, right? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. One of the biggest obstacles is just getting people to recognize that there is a mental game, right? That they actually take the time to say, wait, there is something mental going on here. And it doesn't have to be stigma. It doesn't have to be weird. You don't have to think you've got psychological problems. It's just, it's true. If you're worrying, you're doubting, you're fearing, you're insecure, you're doing any of that, that's the mental game. So, number one is acknowledge that there really is a mental game and that you got some mental things going on. And if that's the case, then I would say then go to the next step. And that's, you can have a $50,000 gun, hire, world champion to be your instructor, have the best vests and the best glasses. But if you're working yourself to the point that your heart's racing and you're too focused on your score, none of that stuff matters. Like, right. It all just went out the window.
Right.
You could be breaking 100 all the time, but you have a big fight with your wife, or you get a phone call from your doctor that's disturbing, or you're trying to close a deal. This is a challenge with people that kind of, selling product at competition and trying to compete. They're thinking about the deal. They're thinking about closing the deal. They got someone trying to buy something from them when they're in the same squad with them. So we all have a mental game. We all have mental issues going on. And sooner you recognize it, the better. And then you go, wait a minute. So why would I just practice my mechanics? I've got to practice my mental as well, because it's going to trump my mechanics every time if I don't get control over it.
Yeah, very well said. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, hopefully that answers this question. Well, Dawn, again, it's been awesome having you back on here, and we're so happy that you joined forces with the Dead Pair podcast. So we'll be hearing a lot more from you in the future.
Well, and always remember, all of your listeners get a thank you from me, and that's their gift too. Get a free audio that's made just for your listeners, or they actually now can get 2 weeks free into my Clay Shooter online course. So we got a link specially for your listeners where they can get those specials.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, we'll
definitely be in your paragraph or whatever.
Absolutely. We'll put that in the podcast description. Thank you, Dawn, for doing that, not only for us, but our listeners. We greatly appreciate that. And everybody that's listening to this, again, we'll have Dawn Grant's links to her website, her contact info, and also the free hypnosis for the dead pair listeners right down in the podcast description. Dawn, I can't thank you enough. I mean, you've done tremendous things for not only myself, but for all of our listeners, and we appreciate you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure, really.
All right. Well, Dawn, great talking to you. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and can't wait to talk to you again.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. We'll see you.
Thanks for everything.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Well, Jason, another jam-packed episode. Stephen Lamboy from Negrini had Dawn Grant on for the questions for the coaches. And, big shout-out to her for joining the Dead Pair podcast and an official capacity of being a sponsor.
I'm excited about that. I really am. On a personal note, I'm going to use Dawn for some of her other products, too.
Yep.
I need to trim a few pounds off the old fat daddy here.
Yeah, you and me both, buddy.
Yeah,
you and me both.
So, and, I'm an idiot, so I have a nicotine addiction, so we're going to work on that too.
Yeah.
But no, Dawn's got a lot of great products, and I think she's a good fit for this program because a lot of what she does is for clay shooters.
Yeah, well, and most of us will recognize once you get to a certain point, it's not so much about the mechanics and can you shoot or break this target or do you know the lead or whatever. It boils down to what's between your ears.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's the lady to help.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking of help, we've got a ton of help for some really, really, really great companies, great people behind them. KO Ammo, Game Board US. We brag about them all the time. We love us some White Golds.
Yep.
We love us some Doug and Dwight.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate those guys very much. Excited to get down to the Nationals, see that new product that's coming in from Game Board. And we're going to be there to film it and talk to them directly. We're going to have some video of that as well. Barrel pelt vest, man, the new G2. I got mine just before the state shoot, Sean. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah,
vest.
Mine's coming. I'm still waiting here. Hopefully Heather's got it in the works.
The way that they changed the fit of that vest. I really loved what I had. I really, truly did. I would have been perfect finishing out the rest of my shooting days in the vest that they had. How can you make that any better? Yet they did it. Really, truly, they did. It's an awesome vest. And Chad got his new G2 as well. He was excited about that. Loved it. Bragged about it all weekend. Atlas traps. Thank you. Love me some American-made Atlas traps. Yep. Sean, I'm telling you, one of these days we're going to get you some land, and I'm going to outfit you with a 5-stand Atlas traps.
Look out.
And, speaking of which, by the way, guys, I do have some 5-stand packages available. So if you'd like to try an Atlas trap, get a hold of me. Auto Pro Technologies. Love us some Dr. Grace.
Yep, and I will attest. I went the whole weekend and only used the charging case for my ears, and I shot the main. 2 days of the main, 2 days of FETASC, prelim, and a super sporting event. Never recharged the ears the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and still had plenty of battery to spare.
You mean you put them back in the recharging case?
Just put them back in the recharging case, but I never plugged it in, never had to do anything. So I'm just saying, you never even have to have an outlet.
Right.
The charging case does it all for your ears.
Same here. I'm glad you said that. I actually had mine in my cup holder in my truck.
Yep.
And I get done shooting, I put them in there, and they charge them back up, and I was good to go for the next day.
And I think I still had 2 bars on the charging pack. So, it lasted all weekend.
Negrini cases. Thank you, Stephen Lamboy, for joining us. Very excited about these new cases coming out, Sean.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff coming.
Absolutely. Rhino chokes. Sean, will you ever shoot a gun without rhino chokes or porting?
I don't think so because, I'm a big believer in the barrel porting now. Especially, the rhino porting. I believe in what they're doing, and I've seen some other porting that I never really was all that impressed with.
I've seen some other porting that makes guns loud.
Right, yeah.
But I've never seen any porting that does what this porting does.
Exactly. So, yep, and their chokes are awesome.
Oh, man, they hammer some. I ran the whole weekend with a set of the Elite 17s in.
Yep.
Never changed chokes. And I'm going to when I did my job, oh boy, did those chokes do their job.
And I'll do you one better. I ran most of the main with my 7 in the bottom and the 17 on top. And even with that 7 on the bottom, I was able to reach out and smack some targets that you'd be very surprised to know that I hit it with a 7.
Yeah. Station 12 on was it the red course that had the tower?
The scissor lift with the twin pair. I ran that.
I ran it too.
I ran that with a 7 and a 17.
Really? Yep. I ran it with my 17s.
Nope, I ran a 7. The bottom bird I was getting with the 7, and then the big high one I was getting with the 17.
Well, that was the hardest station on both courses by far.
I think so.
I was the first shooter up. I went to work, did my job, ran that station. I came out and shot, or I'm not lying to you. Chad looked at me. You absolutely dirtballed all 6 of those targets. I'm like, white golds and rhino chokes, baby.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
RE Ranger, the new Reacts. Now, listen, I typically run the darkest lens, which is the highlight lens. We were shooting towards a lot of greenery. Mm-hmm. We were constantly facing the trees, constantly. Everything we shot, VTAS, Super Sporting, Prelim, Mains. Chad brought something up to me that mid-light is really, really good when you have a lot of greenery like that, regardless of light presentation.
And that's what I used for most of the weekend.
And that's what I used, and I could not believe the detail I was seeing in targets.
Yep, you can definitely, I mean, it's not that much brighter than the dark lens, but it just seemed like it definitely made the orange clay stick out much better on that green background.
Well, it's not that it made them pop. It's just that it made them more defined than the background.
Yes, agreed.
And it did its job. So, of course, Game Boy White Golds. Man, oh, man. Yeah. I love them.
They shred targets.
And we saw white flyer targets all weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And some really cool white flyer targets.
Hundreds and hundreds and thousands of them.
Yes. I don't know about you, Sean. I wore my folded wing apparel hat all weekend. Love the flat bill. Not a fan of the looks because I'm just not a flat bill guy.
Yep.
But boy, did it work for shooting. It never got in my vision. Worked good. So
now, Jason, everything that you wear, usually you make it look better, is what I've heard from you.
I do. I make it look really good. But no, all kidding aside, every one of their shirts that I wore all weekend, as well as the shorts, kept me really cool. And it was muggy and it was hot.
It was very hot.
And, Chad, he's got to switch off and on because he's sponsored by Fiocchi, he's sponsored by Blaser, he's sponsored by Folded Wing. And he literally, it was like a sigh of relief when we got up in the hotel in the morning. He's like, man, I get to wear my Folded Wing today. I'm like, what? He's like, this other shirt's so hot. So, and lastly, we are truly humbled, blessed, and thankful. Dawn Grant has joined this program.
Yep, she's part of the team now.
So, yeah.
God, she's got her work cut out for her.
Especially with you.
Well, look who's talking there.
I'll agree with that one. Sean, what do we tell everybody every week?
All right, take somebody out shooting. Take them to a tournament. Take them to a charity event. Just basically go out there, get a gun in their hand, show them how much fun you can have doing this sport, and hopefully you'll bring some more people into the fold. I mean, the sport sells itself.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, it's like Chad said.
Yep.
White flyer targets. Have you ever seen a sponsor so excited to have you blow up their product?
Right. Yeah, that's a good saying.
Right?
They need to market that somehow.
But how fun. Take somebody out and show them how cool this is.
Yeah.
Show them what safe use of a firearm can be, how much fun it can be.
Yep.
Right?
I actually had the privilege to take somebody out a couple weeks ago, a member of a business group I belong to, shot trap about 15, 20 years ago. Went and took him over to Blackwing, and we had a little event with a business group that we had, and man, he just really, really loved it. And next thing you know, he bought a new A400.
I'm excited and disappointed all at the same time.
Why is that?
Because you took somebody new shooting. I love it. That's awesome.
Okay.
I'm disappointed because I didn't get the invite.
Well, it was for a business group.
You know
what? You weren't part of the business group.
If you were on the phone right now, I'd hang up on you. But hey, everyone, until next week, let's do this again next week. Sean, what do we tell everybody?
We'll see you all back here on the Dead Pair Podcast.